Toronto Talk Sports and More, episode number 14. Thank you for tuning in. It's Zion Hezekiah, a.k.a. Hez, joined by Milan Sonegra, a.k.a. Milo. Our other co-host, Quartz, is off this week. Milo, what's poppin', my man?
Quartz just seems to take every other week off, right?
That's what's going on,
lucky
man.
Him,
He's vacationing somewhere, man.
When do I get this vacation
He's enjoying the warm weather at some lovely state, I believe.
Speaking of the warm weather, I think Mother Nature actually listened to me this past weekend, because last week I complained it was raining every weekend, Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
And lo and behold,
oh man, like it was just
crazy humidity.
Oh man, it was like what, 46 on Saturday?
You got that AC on full blast there, buddy?
Full blast. That's how we do it.
Oh boy. So listen, hope everyone had a super amazing long weekend.
Yeah.
On behalf of the TTS family, we'd like to wish everybody in the country, obviously, belated Happy Late Canada Day. Milo, how did you spend the long weekend?
Canada Day, I was out and about. I had a wedding to go to, so Friday ceremony, Sunday reception. Monday, I just cooked it with the family, had some family in from out of town. We went for dinner. But it was a good weekend, man. You know, it was nice. Some outside, but you can't stay outdoors in this weather too long.
Not too long, yeah.
You know, it's nice to be in that AC and that cool environment. But it was fun, definitely.
Very nice,
You?
awesome. Yeah, well, Shar and I, we took the kids to this big water park in Bowmanville. We had a lot of fun. Speaking of kids, Zalom is actually here in studio.
Yes.
My firstborn child making his TTS debut.
I think I called him Zalom Bolt once, right?
Oh,
he's
yes.
a racetrack
yeah,
star.
yeah, Mr. Speed there. So exciting
Nice.
about that. And on Sunday, we actually had this huge family reunion. And a huge shout out actually to my mother, who did all the cooking. Absolutely amazing. I think we had about, I don't know, maybe 40, maybe even up to 50 family members. Hard to keep track, but it was a big family reunion. My mom did all the cooking. I mean, there was little contributions here and there, but she pretty much did everything. Shout out to Mom. She did an absolutely amazing job. Yeah, it was a great weekend all in all.
Nice.
Yes. So actually, a bit of sad news that I don't necessarily mind sharing with our audience and our extended TTS family. Yesterday, July the 3rd, was actually the 1-year anniversary of my father's passing. He was 91 years old, so he lived a very long and fruitful life. Still miss him much every day. Joshua A. Scarlett, continue to rest peacefully.
Yes, sir. Well
said. Now we have some positive and uplifting news to share. TTS and More, we're very proud, very happy to welcome a new member to our broadcast team here, and that's Kashif Arshad. Kashif worked as a writer for the NHL Network, as a story editor in the TSN Sports Center newsroom. He later went on to become a story associate. He also anchored weekend sportscasts with CKCO Kitchener. Kashif was on Global Sports here in Toronto, reporting for Sportsline, covering the Leafs, the Argos, the Raptors, and the Blue Jays. He was a manager for news and information at TSN, working on the business side of sports management. He also happens to be a licensed real estate agent. He's an avid golfer, a family man, and of course, an absolutely huge sports fan, which is why he's here. So Kashif, on behalf of Milo and Quartz and myself, welcome to the Toronto Talk Sports and More family. Lots going on.
Lots going on, man, but it's sports and we love it, and this is why we're here. So great to talk sports, and I can't wait to get started.
Perfect. Kashif, just before we get started, so we understand that last year you were also a top 10 finalist for the inaugural Wayne Embry Fellowship with our Toronto Raptors. That's a pretty big honor, to say the least. Can you tell our audience who might not be aware what that's all about?
Yeah, absolutely. It was a great process. Saw an email out on NBA.com for the fellowship. It was for Mr. Wayne Embry,
right?
Who's
big
well
in our city now,
respected in the organization and in the NBA ranks. And threw in an application. We had to produce a 2-minute video on YouTube. And got selected based on the video and I guess the experience as well.
Right.
And it was a 2-day process in June. I think they just selected the second fellow just recently. So 2-day process, went to the BioSteel Center. Met up with Masai Ujiri, Teresa Resch, high-level executives for the organization. Yeah, it was great. I mean, you got to meet them, and you had to actually produce a presentation for the 2 days. One was who the Raptors were going to pick with the 23rd overall selection last year.
Yeah.
I went with Semi Ogier. I went with Semi, and they ended up taking OG, which was obviously the great decision. And there was another presentation that we had to do about how we interact and how we would build basically our experience with basketball tied in with everything with sports, right? So it was great, man. I mean, it was a networking thing. I didn't get it, and the gentleman who got it, Sam, well deserved. And meeting people, meeting fellows in the organization, it was absolutely an experience that I'm going to cherish for the rest of my life. So
that is
great.
Awesome.
Yeah,
awesome, good stuff, great experience. So Kashif will likely be featured on Toronto Talk Sports and More twice a month. Once again, welcome aboard. Definitely looking forward to connecting with you and talking some sports.
Yes, sir. I'm ready.
For sure. So before we preview what's on slate for today's show, Milo, I believe that you have another TTS announcement to share with our audience.
I do, yes, Hez, thank you. So I wanted to let our listeners know that if you go to our website, which is www.torontotalksports.com, and click on news, you'll see that we've just launched our blog section. So please check that out and stay tuned for a regular series of blog posts and TTS news updates on torontotalksports.com.
Awesome. And do remember that a huge part of what we do here on Toronto Talk Sports and More is our open forum where members of the public, avid sports fan, can come on in, join us in studio, and be a part of the conversation discussing the hottest topics in sports. TorontoTalkSports.com. Scroll down to the bottom of the homepage. Click on the tab to join us on one of our podcast shows. We definitely would love to have you join us in studio. So, all right, here's what's on tap for today, guys. We will be doing a World Cup update. Things are getting very exciting. We're pretty much approaching, or we're in actually, the elimination round right now in the FIFA tournament. We will be talking some NHL as well. There was a huge signing by our hometown Toronto Maple Leafs. We'll touch on that. We have an exclusive interview with a young gentleman who was just drafted into the National Hockey League. So looking forward to that. Next, we'll be doing NBA free agency. That's where we'll spend the bulk of this episode discussing so many things. LeBron James, Boogie Cousins, so much more. It's going to be
Things are heating up.
Things are definitely heating up. We have a special returning guest joining us also to discuss some NBA. So it's going to be a full show. Let's get right to it. Toronto Talk Sports and More.
All right, it's your man Milo here, back with Hez. And Hez, my friend,
What up?
Let's chat about some NHL hockey and free agency, sir. Now, I think something pretty special happened on July 1st here in the city of Toronto. A lot of Canada Day celebrations, obviously, across the city. But that was not the only thing Torontonians were celebrating, sir, as the free agent prize known as Jonathan Tavares himself chose to come home and join our Toronto Maple Leafs.
Coming home.
I said, go ahead, sing it, man.
Tell the world
I'm sure NHL hockey fans in Toronto are singing that song. They sent hockey fans in the city into a frenzy. Tavares signed a 7-year, $77 million deal with the Buds. He had spent his entire career with the New York Islanders and is coming off a season where he had 37 goals and 47 assists. Very productive, but unfortunately could not get the Islanders into the playoffs. Hez, what does this mean for the city of Toronto to get such a superstar player?
So this means everything for the city of Toronto. It means everything specifically for the Toronto Maple Leafs. As you said, I mean, Tavares was the biggest name out there in the free agent market. The Leafs were in contention. Obviously, he did meet with them. I think he was the first team, or the Leafs were the first team that he met with.
And the Sharks were in there as well?
Yes, and we discussed it on last week's show, and we had our guest, Lonnie, actually, the Schwartz.
The Schwartz, yeah.
And, the consensus was that more or less it was a long shot, but obviously it would be great if they were able to pull it off. When I saw that notification on my phone, just like you, Milo, obviously, we get the text notifications from various different media outlets. It was a shocker. It was like, wow, like this is for real. And even for me, I mean, I'm not the biggest Leafs fan. I'm not even the biggest hockey fan in the world. Not so much as, I used to be way back in the days.
How dare you? You're
I know,
from Toronto.
The
Me
six.
neither, though. Yeah.
But back to your thing, I mean, for the city and specifically for the team. We're talking about a guy in Tavares that, averages, 30 goals per season pretty much for his career. He's only really had 2 injury-plagued seasons, so for the most part, he's been healthy. He's just a very solid, consistent, reliable offensive player who brings, a lot of leadership to the Toronto Maple Leaf squad. It's big time. It's a huge signing, and, props to the Leafs for pulling it off.
Yeah, absolutely. I completely agree. I think for the first time since a guy like Matt Sundin was in Toronto that the Leafs have a bona fide legit superstar. I think Austin Matthews will develop into that superstar. He's not quite there yet. But, you got to go back to Matt Sundin and, the Doug Gilmour days when they had guys here that were prominent figures here in the city of Toronto. And, when I really liked the fact that Tavares, I think with his announcement, he sent a picture, I believe on his social media somewhere, of him as a child in his bed. And his bed was just filled with Toronto Maple Leaf stuff, his comforter and his wall and everything like that. So, very humble. You could tell that he was genuine in his letter to the New York Islanders.
Oh, big time. It wasn't an easy decision at all.
He sent two letters. He sent one to the fans and he sent one to management, his former teammates. And that's very humbling of him to do that. But it's a new era in Toronto. I think, it's great that he came home finally and wanted to do this. So it means a lot to the city of Toronto and their fans.
Oh, big time. And even specifically from a hockey standpoint, if you look at them up the middle, the center position, they're 3 deep now. You got Kadri, Matthews, as you mentioned, now John Tavares. That's wow.
It's a killer power play.
You put all those guys in the line of the power. Oh, big time. That's
Mitch
huge.
Marner out there as well and go with one defender. Who knows, right?
Certainly. And as I said, just that leadership in terms of that veteran presence, huge, just really big. Happy Canada Day. That was definitely Canada's gift.
For sure.
Not just for the Leafs, but for all of Canada. He came back to, where he probably should have been. He's home.
Do you think he takes them to the next level and gets that first Stanley Cup here since 1967?
Well, let's not push the envelope there. They still need to shore up, obviously, on the blue line. They know that's going to be a big issue there. We'll see what they can do. They don't have too much flexibility salary cap-wise.
Right.
But one step at a time, as I said, what we discussed last week on the show, if you have the opportunity to go out and get him, if he's willing to come and play for you, it's a no-brainer. They made it work financially as well. The numbers were fine. Just a huge signing, and I'm looking forward to seeing him with the on the blue with the blue and white.
Yep, can't wait for the season to start. Okay, sticking with the NHL, we're very excited here on TTS as we have a special guest joining us on the line. He is the second-round draft pick of the Los Angeles Kings, number 51 overall from the OHL's Niagara Ice Dogs, Akil Thomas. Akil, how are you, buddy?
I'm pretty good. How are you?
I'm doing wonderful, man. Thanks for joining us.
Happy to be here.
Yeah, it's awesome to have you on. And, I just want to start off quickly, ask you, just tell us what the last 2 weeks have been for you, after being drafted by the Kings, over the last couple of weeks.
So I was drafted in Dallas, and then my family actually took an RV up with a couple of my friends, my girlfriend, my aunt, my uncle, my cousins, and my siblings, obviously.
Right.
And it was a really fun trip, really fun road trip. We stopped in a couple places to see past friends, past family, and kids that I kind of grew up playing hockey with and against, and old friends and whatever, because my dad played in a couple different cities throughout the state. So it was really cool that way. And obviously we went there for the draft, and that was a really good experience. Very nerve-wracking, and
I'm sure.
Obviously, met the team who selected me, and just kind of one of those days to remember forever. And it was a pretty special experience, and it wasn't short until I was off to LA 2 days after the draft. So I brought my skates and my sticks. So I flew from the draft to LA, and that's where I kind of had my development camp. And again, met some of the prospects that they've drafted in the past couple of years, met their development staff, met their coaches, and all that stuff. And
right.
We put in a really nice hotel, and the facility was amazing. It was at the practice rink, but it was just unreal. We were on the ice like 3 times a day. We had some development skates, and we had a scrimmage every day, and we had a workout every day. And then this one day we went biking at the beach, so that was a really cool experience as well.
Awesome.
We went to Osa Beach and Manhattan Beach, so it was a really, really cool experience. I've never really been on the West Coast before.
Sounds like you got to experience a lot of different things.
Exactly, yeah.
Good.
So the last 2 weeks have been, the probably one of the better 2 weeks of my life. So,
I'm sure.
So this is Zion here. Listen, Akil, once again, thanks for joining us. Huge congratulations. Very proud of you. Could only imagine, how much work went into getting you to where you are. And now, of course, there's so much more to do. As you said, it was very nerve-wracking. Could only imagine. Take us specifically, back to draft night. You said you were with your family, surrounded by family. What specifically was going through your mind at that particular time? Obviously, the draft took place on Friday. It was the first round of the NHL draft. And, your name didn't get called. You weren't selected, of course, in the first round. It wasn't until the next day, you were selected in round 2. But what was actually going through your mind, during that first day in terms of, just waiting potentially to see if, you would get called? Like, what was specifically going through your mind?
Yeah, so basically, my family and I and probably, my agent, we were kind of expecting to go first day. So,
Right.
we were going into Friday night kind of, relaxed because, I was in the back of my mind, I thought I was going to get drafted that day. So I wasn't too nervous, but I was pretty nervous. But so I sat down and, I knew I wasn't, a top 10 pick. And so wasn't really nervous then, but, I'm naturally, a competitor. So, even when guys who I knew were going to get drafted higher than me went, I was, just kind of, threw some fire under me, naturally. But, as I got in the late first round, I was starting to get kind of worried, and I could tell, just the energy from my family. It was, we were all kind of nervous, and
Yes, I can imagine.
At one point, I just kind of, had that feeling that, I'm probably not going to go today, just by the way the draft was happening. It was happening kind of, different from what rankings were like and stuff like that. So a lot of good players went, a lot later than they probably should have in terms of, rankings and all that stuff. So, it was kind of weird walking out that night without a jersey and without my name being called, just because, the whole season I was kind of, hoping I would get picked in the first round. And
Yep, as projected, yep.
Yeah, I thought I had a pretty good season and whatever. So a little weird going back to the hotel and kind of waiting another night. But by morning time, I kind of forgot about it.
Nice.
Well, didn't forget about it, but I kind of put it behind me. And, that the night before, it was pretty tough for me. I was mad. I was, upset and whatever.
Of course,
but,
naturally.
I tried to, make it into a positive thing and light a fire under me. So, second day, I was hoping to go early second round and ended up going mid-second round. And, by that time, I didn't really care. LA picked me, and I was very happy to go to an organization that obviously liked me, and that's pretty much all I could ask for. So,
And now,
in my mind, it doesn't really matter, what round I went anymore. I'm with an organization, with an amazing organization, and I just want to prove to them that I'm a good pick.
I was going to say, and now you get to share a locker room with LeBron James. Yeah, but obviously, Akil, you and I grew up in a couple of different eras. I'm a little bit older than you, but who would you say were some of your favorite NHL players growing up?
I was never like a big guy liker, but I like Claude Giroux.
Yeah,
I like Jamie Benn.
Okay.
Those and Jonathan Toews. Those are probably my 3 favorite players.
Okay, cool.
Awesome. So another question I have. So for people that might not be too familiar with your journey to professional sports, tell our audience a bit about your family background and how hockey literally runs through the bloodline of your family.
Yeah. So my dad played professional hockey. So did my dad's brother. They both kind of started hockey in Toronto, and they ended up both going pro. So specifically, my family, we lived in Memphis, Mississippi, when when I was first kind of born, but I was born in Toronto, and he ended up signing in Flint after that, and then Oklahoma, and then a team in Orlando, and then Jacksonville, and then that team folded, and he actually retired. So we moved back to Orlando, and that's kind of when my hockey started to get pretty serious, and it only took like a couple of years after my dad retired, and we actually made a decision to move back to Toronto for we have family in Toronto, and the hockey's a lot better in Toronto, for me.
Certainly,
and,
more opportunities,
my
right?
dad, the coach. So, it was just kind of, the right time to move. I got accepted into Upper Canada College, where I went for 3 years, and then I ended up transferring to St. Michael's College. So it's been a long journey, and we've had to make a lot of sacrifices, moving a lot for hockey and stuff, but I wouldn't regret a thing.
Awesome.
So Akil, what are some of the things you feel like you can improve on in your game to get prepared for the physicality that the NHL will bring?
Yeah, I think, I'm probably one of the shorter guys.
Yeah.
Not too short, but, I'm not 6'3". And in hockey, they like those 6'3" guys. But, I need to get bigger and stronger, obviously. But
sure.
I think the main thing in my game is my consistency. I think when I'm playing my best, I can, compete with anyone in the whole draft, I think. And
nice.
I think that's kind of a good thing to have because, it's in control of me, whether, whatever I turn out to be. And, I think that's a better position than maybe someone who, can't be, one of the best in their draft class when they're playing their best, right? So,
for sure.
Just kind of something I got to figure out myself.
Right. So, and you did mention size. I do believe you're listed at 5'11", right?
Yeah.
So the question is, at the age of 18, are you done growing? Because I think you still got a little bit time left. What do you think?
I think for sure. I've just grown in the last couple months a little bit.
Okay, all right.
So I'm actually like 5'11" and a half.
Okay, you're growing up, getting up there.
Yeah, I'm getting up there, and I think physically I'm kind of a later developer.
Right on.
So hopefully I do grow a little bit more and build a little bit bigger of a frame.
Yeah, and as Milo was saying, getting prepared for the physicality of the game. Now, as we wind down, lastly, just so our audience and the sports world at large can get just a little bit of a deeper insight into Akil Thomas, tell us, outside of hockey, what are some of your interests?
Yeah, I actually own a clothing company in Toronto with a partner named Ethan Lowe, and we started that in 2015. So
nice.
We're still going.
Businessman, nice.
We're just kind of starting out, so it's not too big. Right now it's pretty small, but it's just kind of a side hobby we both kind of do during the summers when we're both back in the city.
You have a website?
Yeah, it's called ZaleApparel.com, ZALE.
ZaleApparel.com, perfect.
Awesome.
Yeah.
We'll promote you on our social media.
Alrighty.
All right. Well, awesome, Akil. Well, I guess best of luck moving forward into a hopefully long and prosperous career. I certainly hope there is some Stanley Cup hoisting in your future, as well as a Hall of Fame induction.
But
right?
not too much pressure. No pressure. No pressure.
A little early for that, but hey, you never know, right? But listen, we really appreciate you joining us, and you're welcome back anytime here on TTS, buddy. Hopefully in the studio when you have some availability, and we'd love to interview you live in the studio as well.
Alrighty, thank you. Thanks for having me.
Definitely. Enjoy Los Angeles. As Milo was saying, if you have an opportunity, rub shoulders with LeBron, the newest member of the crew down there. But yeah, definitely all the best. We'll be following your career. Thanks so much for joining us, buddy.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
All right, thank you. Toronto Talk Sports and more. All right, TTS listeners, Milo here, and we are going to talk some FIFA World Cup 2018. Once again, we are lucky to be joined on the phone by our main man, NWB, Nii Bruce-Wallace, who was in studio last week with us. NWB, how are you, sir?
I'm great, Milo. It's great to be back on the podcast. How are you?
I'm doing wonderful, man. Thanks for asking. So it's a warm day out there, so hopefully you're staying nice and cool, I hope.
Yes,
nice.
And it's been a warm World Cup, to be honest.
It has been. It has been.
We haven't had a goalless draw in the last round, which is great.
That's right. So good stuff. So let's get into it. The round of 16 started up this past Saturday and finished up yesterday. So we are now down to the final 8 teams. That France-Argentina game was brilliant to kick things off on Saturday. Of course, both Lionel Messi and Cristiano Ronaldo were eliminated on the first day of the round of 16. But the game and the match that really caught my attention at WB was on Monday when Belgium, one of the strongest teams, were down 2-0 to Japan in the second half, but found a way to come back and win 3-2. How did Belgium survive that scare?
It's a great question, and for me, it came down to D&Ms. Now, I'm not talking about a conversation that you might have with your girlfriend or your best mate. I'm talking about depth and management. You look at that Belgian squad, from number 1 through to number 23. They're all playing at a reasonable level for top-level clubs.
Right.
So Roberto Martinez, he didn't panic. he knew what he had at his disposal, and he brought on Fellaini, who plays for Man United, and he brought on Nasser Chadli, who plays in the Premier League as well. And both those players would go on to score the crucial goals that got Belgium into the game and then equalized before the winner. So I think the management of Roberto Martinez was being questioned when they went down 2-0, but he held his nerve, he knew the players he had, and he brought them on. Now, some might say that the Japanese were perhaps naive in terms of the fact that they kept attacking up when they were 2-0 up, but I think they played the right way. They were just unlucky. The Belgian team had a bit more quality, and they got over the line in the end. Yeah,
some were saying Japan celebrated early. They thought they had it all locked up, which I thought personally as well, but you can't count out the Belgians. They did a great job. Also, NWB, what a thrilling match yesterday between England and Colombia. England, who is my team. You know, I have a lot of family in England. I root for them because of my family, but it looked like they had their match wrapped up leading 1-0 when Colombia struck 3 minutes into stoppage time to tie the game up. It came down to penalty kicks, and England did end up winning after 2 stops by their goalkeeper. Nii, it's been frustrating for England fans throughout the years at the World Cup. How do you like their chances moving forward?
Well, Milo, the curse was broken last night because England had lost 3 from their previous 3 penalty shootouts at the World Cup before this game. So I felt that they went to another level in that game on a couple of ways. One, they didn't buy into the provocations from the Colombians, who were very physical. They were trying to bait them into fouls and getting off balance. But they didn't buy into that. And then when they conceded the goal late in the game, by the way, fun stat, there have been 9 goals after the 90th minute before full time in this World Cup. So I'm talking about stoppage time here. But England, despite that, they held their nerve and then pushed in extra time. They got the win on penalties, which is great. Now they face Sweden. Sweden they've had a tough run. They had to get past Holland and Italy in the qualifying in Europe, and then they nearly beat the Germans while they helped push the Germans towards elimination. Sweden will not be easy, but I think the English have a bit more quality to get over them in the quarterfinal. And then you can dare to dream, because making the semi-final of the World Cup, anything can happen at that point.
Absolutely. And, Sweden's been playing well as well, so you can't put anything past them, right? So we'll see what happens. But finally, NWB, you made me literally LOL when Germany failed to even make it to the round of 16 as they lost to South Korea. Of course, last week you did pick Germany right here on TTS as the team to win it all. But here on TTS, we do like to give people a shot at redemption. So we are down to the final 8 teams. Who do you like, sir, to hoist the 2018 FIFA World Cup trophy when it's all said and done?
I appreciate the second chance, Milo.
No problem.
And after wiping the egg off my face last week, I'm going to go with the French, because I'm seeing a lot of parallels between the French class of 2018 and the French team of 1998 that were triumphant. Now, the coach of the current team was the captain in 1998, Didier Deschamps. He knows what it takes to go all the way. The French, they looked slow at the start in the group phase. However, they started to move through the gears. They didn't look like they were ever going to lose against Argentina on Saturday. And there's one key factor here that hasn't come into play, and that's Paul Pogba. Most of the French midfield is playing at a high level. However, Pogba's been pretty mediocre, to be honest, in this tournament. When he hits his full potential, the French will be unstoppable. I expect them to beat Uruguay. It may go the distance. And then I expect them to take care of Belgium in the semi-final. And then the final could be against Croatia or England. I expect them to win that too.
Well, as long as they don't pull off a Zinedine Zidane headbutt again, I think they're going to be okay, right?
I think we're more likely to see the Zinedine Zidane goals in the final rather than the headbutt.
That's right.
Kylian Mbappe is going to be the young player of the tournament. You watch.
Okay, perfect. Well, we'll hold you to that prediction. That's the final one you get, though. We're not going to give you another one in the final 4 or the final. So, but awesome stuff, man. I just want to say thank you again, NWB, for taking the time to join us here on TTS. Always a pleasure having you on, and I'm sure we'll connect again very soon. Enjoy the rest of the World Cup, buddy.
Thanks, Milo. Appreciate it.
All right, Toronto Talk Sports and more.
Toronto Talk Sports and more. Time for some NBA talk. And lots of talk there will be. Tez back here once again with Milo, also the newest member of our broadcast team, Kashif. And we're very pleased to welcome back Luca Rosano from the Waterboy Report. What's going on, fellas?
Doing well. Ready to talk some basketball.
What's not going on?
That's it, man.
There's a lot in the NBA. Yeah.
So, guys, NBA free agency just opened up this past Sunday, and right out the gate, without hesitation, it's been nonstop action. Of course, the biggest and most anticipated news, it was announced that LeBron James would be signing a 4-year, $153.3 million deal with the Los Angeles Lakers. Yes, my Los Angeles Lakers.
That's my type. That's my type of money.
Big things. So social media obviously went absolutely crazy, and the buzz continues. So, guys, my first question is this. Before we kind of discuss the actual decision itself and what it means, what are your thoughts on when the decision was made and how the decision itself was delivered? And I ask that question because I don't think any of us really expected it to come so soon. And in terms of how it was delivered, let's kind of go back a little bit. So LBJ, we'll call it Decision 1.0, better known as The Decision, back in 2010 when he made his big announcement, taking his talents down to South Beach. It was obviously a big, live TV special. It was a huge spectacle that, of course, to this day, I'm sure he regrets. So that was the first time. And then number two, Decision 2.0, we'll call it, which was July of 2014 when LeBron wrote that lengthy article. I believe it was entitled, "I'm Coming Home," in Sports Illustrated when he returned back to Cleveland. Now, this time around, LBJ Decision 3.0, very low-key, no big, cameras, nothing of the sort. I believe it was a tweeted press release by Rich Paul and Clutch Sports. Rich Paul is agent, and Clutch Sports, obviously the company that he owns. So what did you guys make of this, of when the decision was made so early in free agency, and just the simplicity, how easy, it was delivered without this whole hoopla?
I think the timing was perfect. He knew where he wanted to go, and he made the decision right away. Why let people think about what's going to happen? I know it's great for the NBA and the speculation and all that stuff, but he knew where he wanted to go.
But LeBron lives for drama. This is LeBron James, so he wanted to just do something a little different this time.
This is an older, more mature LeBron.
Right.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
He's past that stage where he wanted to make it a big hoopla and do all that. He did it with Cleveland, Miami, whatever you want to call
So he's
it.
reaching a different phase, perhaps, in life and maturity and
The
whatnot.
older you get, the more mature you get, and LeBron showed it by making his decision early in the process.
All right. Let me throw this out to you guys. At what point, in your opinion, obviously we'll never know unless LeBron comes out and says so, but when do you actually think he made that decision that LA, that this was the place that he wanted to, spend the rest of his career? Because let's face it, guys, when he signed those deals in Cleveland, 1-year deal.
Yeah.
The fact that he actually signed a multi-year deal, a 4-year deal, so when it's all said and done, I think it will be approaching, his 19th year in the league.
Yeah.
What does that mean? What does that tell you? When do you actually think that this decision, which is, I know, a long-term decision, was made to, spend his, perhaps the rest of his career in Los
going to
Angeles?
say game one of the
That's what
NBA
I was
Finals
gonna
with 5 seconds left.
J.R. Smith.
The second he forgot to call the timeout.
J.R. Smith, he was out of there.
I'm outta
Of there. No, obviously, it was a decision. I was quite surprised that he made it on July 1st, the first day of free agency.
Right.
I thought he was gonna play it out a little bit longer, but I think ultimately he made this decision a long time ago.
Right.
Going into his final season with the Cavaliers, probably around even the deadline, I would say. Obviously, this is a decision that's mirrored on his family, obviously his kids and his wife.
It does seem like it wasn't just a basketball decision. You're right.
Exactly. It's life after basketball from a branding perspective.
Right.
He owns the entertainment company. He cares about, his life after basketball. And he is a character. He is a persona. And I think it fits perfectly with the whole LA landscape.
Well, what about guys like, let's say, and I'm not any real huge LeBron fan. I respect him. I love what he's done for the game.
You used to call him Queen James. I
I
remember.
did.
Wow.
Until he won his first championship. After that, I gave
I've
him
heard
his,
it after that. Come on.
No, not from me. You didn't.
That's a little harsh.
But here's the question, guys. I forgot the question.
Sorry,
LeBron
keep
James.
going.
I think going back to your point, the situation with LeBron was very simple. Look
Yes.
what he's done with Cleveland. He's gone there. Every team that he's played with has gone far into the finals
Yep.
or late into the playoffs.
Right.
It's LeBron James. Now he has this opportunity to go to LA,
Yep.
which is besides the Knicks, and forget about what they're doing, the mecca of basketball, you want to call it. He has an opportunity to create his own sort of dynasty within in LA and be along the likes of the Magics, the Kobes, the Shaqs.
Certainly.
You know what I mean? Like,
maybe one day have a statue outside. But here's what I was going to ask. Back to, in terms of, so I was mentioning being a LeBron fan and whatnot. So for guys who are avid, huge LeBron James fans, who perhaps are a little disappointed that he didn't go to, let's say, a better basketball situation like a Philadelphia or like a Houston or whatnot. So what does it mean specifically that he decided to join the Lakers? Like, what can we honestly expect over the course of 4 years? And we don't know exactly what's going to happen in terms of player movement and other additions that the Lakers could potentially make. But just the fact that he chose, once again, the Lakers over, already made situations like, a Houston or Philadelphia or, any other teams that were potentially, kind of be ready to, win now.
I think these guys hit the nail on the head. From a winning standpoint right now, it doesn't make a lot of sense. You're going to a team that won, 33, 34 games last season. They're not in a situation where they're going to win a championship right now. From a business and a family standpoint, it's the right move for him. Yeah. I remember after Game 4 of the NBA Finals, he sat at the podium just being swept by the Warriors, and a reporter from ESPN simply asked LeBron if he decided on next season, and he said flat out, it'll come down to what makes his family happy. So I think Savannah, his wife, his kids, they wanted to be out in Los Angeles, and that ultimately...
And they've had roots in LA for quite a while,
they have
right?
a couple of places out there, probably more than a couple, but he's going to build his empire out there, right? And whatever's left of it. So from a straight basketball perspective, I said it before, he should have signed either with Houston or Philadelphia probably, but... I could probably give you 5 to 10 reasons from a straight basketball perspective as to why he shouldn't have signed with the Lakers at this point, right?
Well, and he signed after George.
Absolutely.
Which is very surprising.
Right?
Yep.
And the
we
Lakers
thought that they would kind of be paired up together,
That's
right?
what I'm saying. And then the Lakers went out and got Pope, Rondo,
Lad Stevenson,
McGee, and Stevenson.
Yeah.
So this is all on LeBron. And I'm pretty sure him and Magic Johnson have something going on where it's, hey, these are the players that I'm looking at.
Yep.
But
I'm sure LeBron's in the talks.
LeBron has
it
a
is
say.
LeBron after
He's mentioned
all, right?
Rondo a couple of times in terms of a high IQ basketball player, right? So after he's played him in the playoffs a few times, he said that's a guy I'd love to play with. So I'm sure that's one guy that he went to Magic Johnson and said, hey, let's see if we can get him on board. I'm sure, Lance Stevenson reminds me.
Yeah, I don't know what's up with that.
He reminds me of the Kobe Bryant, Matt Barnes situation. Those two used to go at it, and then Matt Barnes came and joined them in LA.
Teammates.
And that's the same thing,
Same
right?
with Meta World Peace as well.
Peace, that's what they compare it
they used to go at it as well.
They're going to be best friends. On the court, they're going to be best friends. I mean, when you play with a guy like Lance,
right,
you hate him when you're playing against him,
right?
But you love him when he's on your team.
Yep.
And Lance is going to bring that to LA, and based on whatever else they do in the process, whether it's Kawhi Leonard, pending whatever happens with him, I know we're going to talk about that afterwards, but.
Yep.
There's a lot to be excited about in LA.
Certainly.
The fact that number 23 is there.
Now, Kashif, you made a good point bringing up the whole Paul George situation, because most of us thought, okay, even if LeBron was going to go to LA, before the decision was made, that perhaps he would look to, assemble, a super team. So there was talks earlier out that, he sent, I believe, a text message to Kevin Durant and asked him if he would possibly join him there. So it is pretty telling that the fact that, Paul George, chose to, stay in OKC, and LeBron still said, you know what, I'm in LA. Before any other superstars made that commitment to join him, he said, I'm going there, I'm joining a bunch of 20-year-old players, a bunch of second or third year guys. I think that's pretty telling.
Yeah, no, for sure it is. But how much is that of LeBron just wanting to be in the West? So if he loses against the Warriors, it won't affect his finals record.
Yeah.
But I just think right now, as constructed, the Lakers are a glorified Cavs team in the West. They obviously need more to help them over there. I was very surprised that George re-signed with OKC.
As was I.
I don't know what Russell Westbrook did at that party.
Just like LeBron just said, I don't think that was a basketball move. I mean, does he really think they're in a position to compete with the Warriors or even the Rockets? I think it's just, his relationship with Westbrook, and, obviously he was very comfortable there, because you'll remember the year before, he actually told the Indiana Pacers that when I'm a free agent, I'm signing with
LA.
Specifically with the Lakers. That's exactly what he said. Absolutely.
There's also rumors he didn't want to play with LeBron, so who knows?
That's another thing that could have floated out there. So, guys, I'm gonna read this quote here. This is from Mr. Shannon Sharp of Undisputed FS1. Obviously, we know one of the biggest LeBron James lovers out there. So he said this: Nobody can swing the pendulum of power like LeBron James. He didn't go to the Rockets. He didn't go to Golden State. He went to the Lakers, a team that finished 11th in their conference. And now they are the second favorite team to win the title. So, guys, very big talk. Shannon Sharpe, once again, huge LeBron fan. And I certainly will agree, and I'm sure we all will, in terms of just, the LeBron's power, in terms of swinging that pendulum. But the question is this. As presently constructed, where do Los Angeles Lakers rank in the Western Conference? In the heavily stacked Western Conference, where do the Lakers now rank? As constructed.
Look, I think having LeBron James there is a big plus. And do I see them as a playoff team? Absolutely. Oh, what team is with LeBron James are you not expecting to make the playoffs?
Do we agree with their Vegas odds that they're right up there with right up there side to side with the Celtics?
I saw that too. 7-2 odds. I think it was. They're the
LeBron does have power, but does he have that much power?
I think the Celtics would sweep them in a 7-game series.
I think they need another big man. Hey, look, Kuzma.
JaVale McGee's not enough for you?
He's the missing piece.
He'll be on Shaqtin' the Fool.
They were planning the parade after they signed him, I think.
No, listen, JaVale showed his worth with the Warriors, but that team was built a little different, as you could see, than the Lakers are. So we don't know what JaVale is going to bring to the table. I mean, if he's the same guy that he was with Denver,
right,
the Lakers are in trouble. Right. But if he's the same guy that he was with the Warriors and they use him properly, I think the Lakers could be okay at 5. But they certainly are another scorer with. Look, Rondo, Stevenson, okay. But Kuzma's the guy, I think, that... How does it hinder his development? I think that's the question here that we got to think of, right? Like Kuzma played so well with Lonzo and the current, the previous team that they had, but LeBron coming in, he's getting his touches. Yeah. How is that going to hinder his development, right? So there's going to be a little bit of chemistry that's going to be happening.
They'll have some road bumps.
I think, look, are they a playoff team? Sure. Are they top 5? No.
Wow, you don't think that? I actually have the Lakers right now. Call me crazy. I have them.
I will call you crazy.
I have them right now penciled in the 3 spot.
In the Western Conference?
Yes, behind the Rockets at 2 and of course the Warriors at 1.
Really?
Guys, it's LeBron James. He's gonna enhance some of those pieces that you're talking about. He's gonna make those guys better. And I know it was in the East, but look what he did with a middling roster in Cleveland. Yep. The West right now, outside of those 2 teams I just mentioned, I think the Lakers can go toe-to-toe and beat them because LeBron James is just that guy.
So you put them overhead of the T-Wolves, overhead of the Blazers,
all
the
those
Spurs,
all those teams
the Jazz,
right now.
the young Utah Jazz.
Right? The Western Conference is a completely different conference with the players that they have at each position than the East.
Oh,
the
for
East
sure.
is historically a little weaker. Okay, I'm a Raptor fan. We're all Raptor fans.
Most of us.
The East, okay.
We don't have to worry about LeBron anymore.
That's what I'm saying. I'm sure we'll talk about it. But the West is a whole new beast, man.
Sure.
It's like completely different. So even the Pelicans, I mean, now that they lost Boogie,
right?
Having
and Rondo,
Anthony Davis there still, pending what they do. Look, I think there's hurdles that the Lakers will have to climb. But hey, you got him in top 3. LeBron could possibly bring that. Who knows,
the best player in the world. And I really like the Rondo acquisition. Now, I don't know where that leads Lonzo Ball, which is quite interesting because they're similar players. Right. But I really like Rondo on that team. And then, of course, you picked up Lance Stevenson. I think he's going to be the enforcer on the team. I don't think they're done. They're obviously rumored to get another guy. I heard Lillard's name being thrown up there, even Kevin Love's name being thrown up there. DeRozan, too, from Toronto. I think they will get another all-star before the start of the season, and obviously that changes it, but as constructed right now, I'll still stick with that they'll be good enough to be a top 3 team.
That is
won't be
very aggressive.
DeRozan's not going there.
No,
you saw that Instagram video.
I saw that.
What else is he going to say?
Exactly.
He doesn't have much of a choice, though, if he gets traded, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So you don't know.
That's out of his control.
It's going to be, I would say, I would put them in the top 5, actually. I think they are a pretty decent team. I don't think they have enough to win a championship, but they're not going to be as bad as people think they are. Again, you got LeBron James. If you think about it, if you had that Cleveland team in the Western Conference, how far would they go last year? Probably not too far. But, they've got experience now with Rondo, with Stevenson, with McGee. I like those signings. I think they need some more shooting. But you did mention something interesting, Kashif, and with Kyle Kuzma. That guy is a stud. He's going to be a very good player, and I don't think LeBron will hinder.
I wouldn't trade him for Kawhi either.
No, I wouldn't
No.
package him at all.
No.
But I think he's going to be a stud, and I think LeBron is going to help him get a lot more open shots, a lot more open looks. He's already a good shooter. Can he take it to that great level, right? And I think the Lakers will be fine, but obviously they're not in a position to compete with the Warriors or even the Rockets at this point. But I would put them in the mix with San Antonio and some of the other top teams out there in the West.
I think it'll be interesting. My prediction, real quick, as constructed right now, I had them more as a bottom seed team in the West, 6 to 8. And no disrespect to LeBron, I think there's just a process that it goes through. When you make such a drastic change to your team, especially with a lot of young guys, I know they had some little veteran experience with Stevenson and with Rondo as well, but there's going to be a little bit of a learning curve, a little bit of a shift. And even from a coaching standpoint, for Luke Walton, just integrating, the various pieces together and guys learning how to play with, a player of LeBron's caliber. So I think it's going to take a little bit of time. As constructed now, I'll put them anywhere between 6 to 8, but we'll see.
I've also heard that if things don't go well next year, Phil Jackson is lurking.
That's the biggest
how does
rumor
LeBron
right now
feel
out
about
there.
Phil Jackson, guys? I don't see that
I don't
happening.
think he likes Phil's posse.
No.
Look, another interesting
I don't
thing
see
about
that.
LeBron is that we saw what happened with Ty Lue, right?
Yeah.
And everyone questioned, hey, who's the real coach? Is it LeBron or is it Lue? And now you go
And
into
I think
a
that was
situation
a little overstated by
Well,
the
it is.
media.
But now you go into a situation where you have Walton, who was drafted, and they're in the same draft.
Same
That's
draft
right.
class.
That's right.
32
Excellent point.
picks after him.
Right, yeah, young coach, yep.
That's, another situation that you got to look at. So that's where the chemistry comes in, I think, especially at the beginning of the year. You may see the Lakers go through a little bit of a, hopefully not too much turmoil, but it's a process. And in the words of Joel Embiid, you got to trust it.
Just
Trust
quickly, I
the
saw
process.
a funny meme earlier today. It said, breaking news, the Cleveland Cavaliers have named Tyronn Lue their head coach
saw
after
that.
LeBron James was elected. I just thought that was hilarious.
I saw
Man,
that as
poor
well.
Ty Lue.
Yeah.
So, guys, let's shift our focus from the Western Conference to the East for a bit here. Now, with LeBron James obviously leaving the East and going to the super stacked West, simple question, and I'm guessing, first of all, that we're all in agreement that the Celtics are, clearly the best team in the East. Do we all agree with that? The Celtics are the best team? Oh, okay, we don't.
No, I'm shaking my head saying mark it down.
Okay, so
That's
put
a
it down.
guarantee.
100%.
That's
No
the
problem there.
guarantee.
Okay, so here's something that perhaps we'll have a little different opinion on. We can discuss. Who is now the king of the Eastern Conference in terms of players? So now that LeBron is out of the East, who is that guy? Who is now the best player in the Eastern Conference? What do you say, Milo?
I'm going to go with Uncle Drew himself, Kyrie Irving.
Okay.
I think he has that clutch gene in him. His ball handling is right at Steph Curry's level. He can make any shot on the court, get to the bucket with ease. I'd rather have him leading my team than any other player in the East right now. I know there's people going to say Embiid and Giannis, but right now I would have to go healthy Kyrie Irving, obviously, right? So, Kyrie.
All right.
I agree with that. I
Do you?
actually
Oh,
agree
nice.
with that.
Okay.
Obviously, it's pending on how he returns from
Right.
that injury, but you just look at his track record, what he's been able to do, the
Yeah.
big performances in the playoffs, the big finals performances, the fact that he does have a championship, and he is a little bit older than those other guys that are going to be mentioned.
Yep.
I think right now I would go with a Kyrie, a close second, and we saw his development take that next step this past season is a Greek freak. I think he's going to be a guy who's he's obviously motivated with the whole comparisons of him with the top players. I think we're going to see him elevate his game. And I know Embiid, he was claiming that he's the best player. I think he'll be, into the mix, but right now I'm going with Uncle
But my
Drew.
question is, Luca, the Greek freak, can you pronounce his
I was
last
just going
name?
to ask him that too.
You're going to put him on the spot here. Okay, I'm gonna-
Antetokounmpo.
Yeah, there you go.
Antetokounmpo.
All right.
There you go.
That's my guy.
Okay,
That's your
so
guy.
he's the
Giannis.
best player in the East.
I think he's
to
the
you.
best player in the East. All
All right.
he's missing is a perimeter shot.
Yeah.
And now with the addition of Mike Budenholzer
Yes.
as coach, I think that he's just going to develop into a five-tool player. And he's doing that in Milwaukee.
Yeah.
He hasn't had that core of star players around him to establish his potential.
Let's face it, in Milwaukee, he probably never will.
But now he's come out and said, "Hey, listen, I want to win a championship for Milwaukee."
Oh, of course.
He's
He's a
saying
loyal
that
guy.
now. Who knows
got
what's
that
going to happen when he
loyalty.
hits free
Yeah.
agency? But
Things change, yep.
his skill set is just absolutely five tool player. He brings something to the table and he makes everyone around him better. Now, Kyrie, I agree, he's up there. But Embiid, if he's healthy, as a big man for what he could do on the court,
And that's the big
Scary.
thing.
He's there.
For me, Embiid, you got to play a minimum of at least, let's play 7. I don't think he's ever played even 70 games in a year. I think this past year he played 67 or whatever it was.
Yeah.
He hasn't even played a full 100 games for his
it's
career.
crazy.
So if he can stay healthy, obviously he's a beast. He's going to continue to grow. And what I do like about Embiid, he does play on both sides of the court. For me, I actually got to agree with my brothers over here in terms of Kyrie. The reason why I would put him over Giannis is just, based on his experience, how he does have that championship experience. You touched on it as well, Milo, his ball handling skills. For me, more than anything, it's his ability to close games. And that's one thing I think Giannis still kind of has to learn. When push comes to shove, you give Kyrie Irving the ball at the end of, the fourth, it could be a close game, the fourth quarter, I'm talking clutch time, whether it's creating a shot for someone else or, driving to the rim, making a perimeter shot. He just has that kind of Kobe Bryant-esque, that clutch gene. He knows how to close games. He knows how to score when it counts. Just from that alone, I have to kind of give it to him in terms of being the best player right now in the Eastern Conference. But Giannis, once he developed a shot and he does kind of, get that aggressive kind of clutch gene, I mean, he does everything else so well and he's, so versatile, he'll definitely be right.
That's what I'm saying. Like, I like his ability to play multiple positions. And the fact that he could do that, I mean, he's played...
He passes, he steals, he blocks shots.
He was handling the point.
He does everything.
Five-tool player.
He was handling the point for Milwaukee for a bit.
He's like
And
a
you saw
Kevin
a few
Durant
moves
without
he
a
made
jump
as well.
shot. Yeah.
That's what I'm saying, right? So I think he's got the ability to take that game to the next level. And I think Mike Budenholzer can provide that.
Yeah.
It's a tough name.
Yeah, I was going to say
I did it, so
there
it's
you
all
go.
good. Hopefully he can, establish that and get even better.
I'm surprised none of us mentioned LeBron 2.0. Ben Simmons.
Okay.
He's another guy that can play all
I just don't like
positions.
him. I don't like his attitude.
You
To be
guys-
honest, I like him as a player, but I just think he's a little too cocky, and he rubs me the wrong
But he's
way.
another
have
guy,
that potential,
all-around
though. Yeah.
player, 100%. And once
Did he
again,
end up
if
hitting
he
a three this year?
once he developed a shot, was
Did
that
he hit a 3 this year?
No.
He did not. Did he attempt a 3? Is the question.
I think he did attempt like 12 or
Which
something.
is absolutely crazy
Yeah.
that he did not hit a 3-pointer.
Even free throws, he can't make his free throws either.
That's what I'm saying. So how can you have him in a top player when you
Exactly.
don't
He's gotta
hit
develop
threes
that
or
over
anything
time.
like
But
that,
for
right?
a young guy, he definitely has potential.
He's
He
got
does
the
have
tools.
signs.
He has the
big
tools
time.
for sure.
100%. He has the build, too. He has
Oh,
the
yeah.
body. He can handle, get to the rim. He's
But
great.
Boston really schemed up well against him in the playoffs, right? They just said, hey, you want to shoot the jump shot? Fine. We're just going to pack the paint and I'll let you drive.
Excellent
Yeah.
defensive scheme, for sure.
Yeah.
So, guys, our hometown Raptors, Toronto Raptors. So, what does all this mean for the Raptors? Once again, with LeBron in the West, certain things shuffling in the Eastern Conference. What does this mean? What do we expect for the Raptors moving forward? And we don't know. I mean, so far, what is it now? Day 4 or so of NBA free agency. So far, they haven't done anything. I know that, from a salary cap standpoint, they don't really have much wiggle room. Maybe they might look to make some trades, possibly, DeMar or Kyle Lowry, Serge Ibaka perhaps as well.
Right.
All these crazy contracts that, probably nobody wants, but you might want to try to see if you can work some magic. But what do we expect from the Raptors moving forward to the upcoming season?
To be honest, I honestly think right now they're going to stay put. And that's what I don't want them to do, because you look at the East as constructed right now. You guys can agree or disagree. I got the Raptors still as a number 2 or a number 3. I think Boston's that team that is better than them. And then you can make a case for a whole bunch of other teams that are going to get in that 2 or 3
Actually,
spot.
sorry, they did re-sign Steady Freddie, and that was a good re-sign.
That was a big
that
move.
was good. He has amazing potential. I like that kid.
But as far as a retooling standpoint, I think this is going to be the final year where we see this current Raptors core, if you want to call it that, just go to work, see what they can do with their the guy that's been the thorn in their side for all these years, LeBron James, moving to the West. We'll see if that changes anything. But personally, I would like to see them go out and retool. I've said it from the start. I'll say it again. I think you got to move either DeRozan or Lowry.
Yep.
I think you got to shake that up. And whether it's, bringing in another all-star, you need a new identity there. So we'll see how it all pans out. But as it stands now, just because of how much of a toss-up the East is outside of Boston, I'll have the Raptors second or third. And you know what? Even I can see them get back to conference finals.
Are they better than the 76ers?
Yes. Right now,
You think so?
I'd still put the Raptors ahead of the 76ers.
Okay.
Yeah.
I agree with you. I think they're going to stay put. The fact is that Nick Nurse getting hired now on a full-time basis is
Smart basketball
going to
mind.
help the offense even more. Casey, he did a great job, Coach of the Year. It's just now having Nick in the picture full-time is going to help develop the players even more. And now they are going to stick as the team as they were last year or the past, because DeRozan and Lowry, you can't get. It's hard to trade contracts that big. Superstar
huge.
players like that getting traded is very tough. Ibaka and who's the other
JV?
guy? JV. Those are hard contracts to trade as well. So
Big
2
time.
more years. You said 1 more year. I give it 2 more years of the same team, and then in 2020,
Okay. When those contracts
that's
come
when
off the
those
books?
contracts come off the books. The Raptors say, okay, you know what? We're either going to rebuild or we're just going to blow it all up.
Retool, yeah.
Right? So the Raptors can contend. They won 59 games
Yeah.
last
Oh,
year.
yeah, that's what we're undermining.
Franchise record, yeah.
The players can perform. The only thing that hindered them from going far was Bron.
Yeah.
And he's not there anymore.
That's it.
So now if you can get past the Bostons and the Phillies, I think you
They
can
have to
make a
learn to
move.
perform in the clutch. They're big players, DeMar, Kyle
That's the
Lowry.
thing.
They
Do
have
they
to
have
be
that
able to
guy?
perform in the playoffs, and they haven't been able to do that. Not at the same time, both of them.
That's a great point because I think everybody just always continues to say, "Oh, it's LeBron James, it's LeBron James." But
more than that.
It's your ability to go up against a guy like that and a team like that, and you have to perform. You know that you're in the second round of the playoffs. You know you're in the Eastern Conference Finals, and it just seems like they get nervous or they get scared. And
It's like when I was talking about Kyrie Irving having that killer instinct
right.
to close. I haven't seen that.
There's
from
only a
DeMar.
handful of players in the league that
I
have
just
that,
haven't
right?
seen that. I don't know
No.
if he has what it takes to lead a team,
Yeah.
in a deep playoff
we
run.
see it in the regular season. I've seen DeMar make clutch
Exactly.
shots and Kyle
It's
make
got to be
big
a
shots.
But we
psychological
know the
thing at this
playoffs is a
point.
completely different animal. That's
but
the thing, right?
Quickly, I will say I think they're right there as the second or third best team in the Eastern Conference.
Mm-hmm.
Boston, they won't be able to beat them in a 7-game series, but the Raptors, 59 wins. I think they do keep everybody. I think once Masai saw that LeBron signed on Canada Day, the streets were celebrating here with John Tavares and Canada
Mini
Day.
championship day.
Yeah, but they were also celebrating LeBron moving west. So I think Masai said, okay, you know what? Let's give these guys another shot. Let's see what they could do. We've changed the coach. Let's see what happens.
And Masai is historically a patient guy.
Sure.
Like he has not made any rational
That's
moves.
true, yeah.
Like, even mid-season, he waited for Casey.
Yep.
People can question why he got fired, whatever you want to call it. But he made his decision patiently, and he waited. And he's going to do the same thing with the players. He's going to let them ride it out now with Nick Nurse and the coaching staff and whoever else he brings in, and see how the team performs.
The one thing, Kasha, the one thing you want as a franchise is stability, and the San Antonio Spurs are a perfect example. I know they're going through their whole thing with Kawhi, but they've had a long-standing coach in Greg Popovich. Dwayne Casey, you can say he could have stayed, he could have gone, but you want to keep your core guys. They kept Tim Duncan and Manu Ginobili and Tony Parker together. Let's see if DeRozan, Lowry, Valanciunas can figure this out. Ibaka, I would like to see him get moved. I don't think he performed in the playoffs as well as he could have, but I think the main 3 guys they should keep and give them another shot to prove themselves.
We'll definitely see what happens. This should be interesting, guys.
Yeah, absolutely.
Sure.
All right, guys. So NBA free agency day number 2, another bombshell signing. DeMarcus Cousins, who's still recovering from his ruptured Achilles, signed a 1-year mid-level exception deal with the world champion Golden State Warriors. Once again, social media gets into a huge frenzy. Lots of angry fans. First KD killed the NBA, and now it seems like Cousins has buried the league. So the question, guys, is this signing really bad for basketball, or is fans overreacting? Do we honestly feel the NBA is going to lose thousands, perhaps millions of fans over this? Is this really that bad for the NBA?
Speaking of memes, I saw snakes on the bay. It had Boogie and it had Durant. You know what? I absolutely love the move.
Right.
I think the best part about it is you can't blame either side, the team or the player. Right. GM Bob Myers of the Warriors has got to do his job and accumulate as much talent as possible. He saw the opportunity in front of him to snatch up an all-star caliber player, and he did just that. Now you have Boogie Cousins on the other side, who reportedly never received an offer from any other team except for the Pelicans. That's what we were hearing. 2 years, $40 million, and the Warriors. So obviously not everything was all roses with him and Anthony Davis and the Pelicans to turn down $20 million a year over the next couple of years. And if indeed that they did offer that to him, so essentially Boogie just gave a big FU to the rest of the league and said, "Hey, nobody wants to offer me a contract. I'm going to go sign with the super team over there that just won 3 of the last 4 championships." So guys, I have no issue with it. And for the people that's complaining about ruining the league, there's no competition. I just want to remind them, the Houston Rockets were a healthy Chris Paul away from potentially, not guaranteed, but potentially beating the Warriors in the West Finals last year.
Potential.
Also remains to see how effective Boogie will be coming off that Achilles injury. So there's a lot that remains to be seen. Yeah, they have a super team now and, a dream team type of starting lineup. But hey, look, I'm still going to watch it. I'm going to be intrigued. That's all I got to say.
this is not bad for the NBA. I mean, and those fans that are saying that they're not going to watch the NBA, I mean, come June when you see the Warriors and Celtics battling it out in the playoffs,
Exactly.
what are you going to be doing? On your couch watching soap operas? You're going to be watching the NBA Finals. So
For sure.
the NBA is a business, and it always finds ways to attract viewers.
Sure.
And no matter what happens with the players, I freaked out. I mean, I was sending texts going, "Oh my God, this is crazy." But it's fine. It creates conversation. Now, with the Cousins signing, again, as Milan, you just said, he didn't get offers from 29 other teams. The Pelicans did give him that 2-year, $40 million offer after he got the injury during the season. He turned it down. This is an opportunity for him to win a championship. He knows.
It's a 1-year rental.
You think he's a fool?
No.
He knows that he goes to Golden State. He's going to get that championship. Come in January, February, he's going to play 40 games, whatever it is.
Yeah.
Win that championship, which is what the odds say, and then someone's going to offer him a crazy
Boatload of
contract.
money, yeah.
So this is a 1-year deal for him. Nobody should be freaking out. The NBA is a long-term business. It's going to be fine.
But are the
Everybody,
War- are
in
the
the words of
Warriors-
Aaron Rodgers,
RELAX.
just relax.
But are the Warriors guaranteed to win? Like, does it really change
without
things?
a doubt, without a doubt.
Go
So this is part of the reason why I fully ranted on my YouTube channel.
Yes, I did tune in.
On why I thought this was
Give it a quick
terrible.
plug.
Yeah, I'll give it a quick plug on my YouTube channel, The Waterboy Report. So, guys, we already knew last year who was going to win the championship. This year, we're not going to have any reason to watch the regular
So it's
season.
inevitable. It's
inevitable.
It's 100%
The
guaranteed.
playoffs, we're going to have no reason to watch. You guys saw on Twitter, even the players took to Twitter to say how Bush League and how bad it was.
But anything can happen, though. Anything
Injuries.
can. It's one injury away. Golden State is a Steph Curry injury away from being, the third
But then you
seed?
still have 4 other All-Stars. It's crazy. I saw something. Every team in the All-Star game this past one, they had at least 1 or 2 All-Stars. The Warriors
Got
have 5 All-Stars right now. I think it's crazy to think that a guy in his prime would even resort to the mid-level, exception of taking that little money just to go chase a ring. I think this whole new era of the NBA, we've lost the toughness and the hard work that goes into winning these rings. Now you just go pair up with a super team and you win a championship as easy as that. So I don't like it, and I honestly thought that no one would ever top the snake status of Kevin Durant. But I think we got a new candidate here in Boogie Cousins.
Well, let's say this quickly.
No.
Let's say if 7, 8 other teams offered Boogie a bigger contract, do you think he would have went to one of those teams?
He wanted to go to LA.
Yeah, he
LA
did.
didn't want him.
Exactly.
He
Yeah,
actually-
because of the injury.
Apparently LeBron James didn't want to play with him.
That's
Right.
what I'm saying. So Golden State it's just smart business.
Yeah.
You have a chance to get a guy with that caliber of a player for $5.3 million.
Oh, it's great for Golden State. I just think it's bad for the league, and I think
Right.
it's bad for their viewership because now it's like, what's the point of even having the regular season? They take it as a joke. We've seen that so many times in the season where Steve Kerr just hands over the keys and says, "Hey guys, do whatever you want out there." And what's the point of
Noggin
watching
Trade
the
Iguodala,
playoffs
coach.
So
when we know
Golden
they're going to
State
be
comes
there?
to Toronto, and Boogie Cousins and Curry and Durant and Iggy and
Sell out.
Thompson are all come. You're telling me it's not going to be a big party outside the Scotiabank Arena? I can't believe I said that.
Yeah, that's another story.
Scotiabank Arena.
It's gonna be a blowout. I don't know. Yeah, from a spectacle standpoint, yes.
And that's
but-
what
But
sells.
that's what the NBA is.
That's what
the NBA
makes
is.
business thrive.
Absolutely.
But here's my thing with you, Luca. So if you go back, and this is my thing, nothing in life is guaranteed. What do they say? Death and taxes. You go back to very recent history, guys. 2016. The Warriors came off a historically great regular season, won more games than any other team in the history of the league, 73 games. They were up 3-1 in the NBA Finals. No team had ever in the history of the league blown that lead. What happened? Mr. LeBron James played out of his mind. He shocked the world, he shocked the universe, and he proved, counteracting your point, that let me use it in the words of Kevin Garnett, anything's possible! Anything's possible.
Wow, that's you've definitely been practicing that.
My,
You
headphones
understand
at
what I'm
home.
saying? It's the process. And as you said, injuries, somebody, playing out of their mind, whatever, anything could happen. But here's what I want to go with. Dynasties, guys, why do we act like what the Warriors have done or what they're doing right now is something so revolutionary it's never happened before? Dynasties are nothing new in the NBA. In the 90s, the Chicago Bulls, when they were winning, 6 championships in 8 years, was the league in a bad place or was it thriving? early in the 2000s when my Los Angeles Lakers were dominant, when Shaquille O'Neal was, the most dominant big man in the league, and Kobe was still, he was there, but he was still young. He was climbing. They won those 3 championships in a row. Should have been 4 in a row. They got beat by the Pistons in 2004. Was the league suffering at that particular time? Dynasties happen in the NBA. And you know why it's good for the NBA? It creates storylines. It creates conversations. It creates that buzz. Now you have this huge, if you want to call it, elephant in the room, or, the Golden State Warriors, the nemesis, the bad guy, the enemy that everyone wants to kind of chase. So it creates that kind of buzz where you're like, okay, how is this going to all work together? How are these guys going to gel? Is injury going to be a part? There's so many different storylines and different narratives that can be drawn that actually makes it intriguing for us as viewers, us as avid, passionate NBA fans to tune in to want to see how is this story going to end. And the last thing I'll say to this note, guys, for the fans that are like, oh yeah, KD ruined the NBA or Boogie Cousins, this and that, I'm never watching basketball again, I'm going to go watch hockey. You know what? Boo-hoo. If you want to, leave watching basketball, if that's your attitude that, these guys ruined the NBA, I'm not going to watch basketball anymore, I'm sorry, but you were never a true basketball fan to begin with. Because this is exciting. Once again, it's a dynasty. First of all, actually, let me backtrack to my point in terms of, I mentioned the Bulls, I mentioned the Lakers dynasty. The Warriors haven't even won 3 championships in a row. They haven't even done that. We've had teams win, 4 or 5. You want to go back, way back to the old Boston Celtics in the, was it the 60s or 70s, winning multiple championships. Bill Russell totally dominating the league. This stuff has happened before. What the Warriors are doing, it's absolutely nothing new. I think it's a bunch of pissy fans overreacting. Let's just relax and watch the ride, enjoy the ride, and see what happens.
Look,
nobody knows for sure what's going to happen.
I have no problem with the Warriors. I think the problem, and I mentioned this, I think either last week or the week before, is that how they're doing it. I think if it's Klay Thompson and Steph Curry and Draymond,
we're not having this discussion.
Yeah, exactly. If people are going to be happy, they're going to be happy for the Warriors. But then you have Kevin Durant joining.
You have the second best player join a 73-win team.
Exactly. I do understand the other point of view as well. I don't personally have a problem with it, but I do understand where people are coming, where they look at them, where they give more respect to Jordan and the Bulls and Kobe and the Lakers and the Spurs, their dynasty over the years, right?
But the Warriors, they grew organically. The only players they've added, forget about Cousins for a second, because people are crying and complaining with the KD signing. Other than that, you look at Draymond Green, you look at Steph Curry, you look at Klay Thompson.
Yep.
All of these guys grew within the organization. They drafted these guys. They developed.
That's what I was saying.
Even Steph Curry, a 2-time MVP. Nobody thought that he would be as great as he was, arguably the greatest shooter of all time. He wasn't pegged to be this great. They developed them. You got to give their coaching staff and, their GMs, their player development guys, a lot of credit for, what they've done and how they've grown.
Don't forget about JaVale McGee.
I think the team is just smart. The ownership is smart.
Sure.
They've just, as you said, they've developed their players, and now they're adding pieces to the puzzle because the players want to go there. And I know what you mentioned about your point about Boogie. Hey, you never thought that he would make that decision and be a snake. What player does not want to go and just say, I can win a ring and get an NBA champ, like the most prized possession that
and from his standpoint,
it loses its
I know it loses its luster.
But from Boogie's standpoint, nobody gave him an offer. So he's like, okay, screw you guys.
I'm going to Golden State.
So what happened to the loyalty? That's my biggest problem with this.
There is no loyalty anymore in the NBA. This is entertainment and sport.
But it's become entertainment, which kind of takes away from the game. Because like in those days of Jordan, he even said himself, he would never have thought to go join forces with Magic and Larry to go chase rings. Before,
it's a totally different era
when
now.
A team won a championship, it actually meant something. Now it just whoever's
when you look at history, a ring is a ring. There's no asterisks, no this and that.
That's all it is, man.
To your point in terms of
for the Patriots.
the Warriors being smart. This is the way I look at it. For people who want to be upset, don't be upset with Boogie. Don't be upset with the Warriors. Don't even be upset with the league from what's happening. You know who you should be upset with? Be upset with the dumb owner of the team that you like, whoever your team happens to be, for allowing this to happen. Because if they didn't want this, they could have easily made a simple phone call, made him an offer. He did what he had to do.
And let's not underestimate.
You can't blame the Warriors for being smart and taking advantage of the mid-level exception and getting a guy of Boogie Cousins' resume to sign for that minimum deal.
Let's not underestimate Draymond Green.
Smart.
Draymond Green has had a huge influence in signing both Kevin Durant and Boogie Cousins.
The thing is, I think we're forgetting here is he's coming off an Achilles injury.
Yeah.
It is not easy to come back from that. You have seen the players that come back from that injury.
I
relate it really based on his size to Elton Brand. What happened with Elton when he came back from his Achilles? He wasn't the same player.
Even Kobe.
Kobe was,
Yep.
Kobe had problems.
I think
And
I
my boy
looked at this.
Chauncey-
I think only Dominique Wilkins was the only player that was close to himself with his.
That's what I'm saying. So he's coming off an Achilles injury. For a big man to take that pressure at his Achilles, he may not be the same player. So everybody's freaking out now. Come January, February, when he doesn't play as well, everybody will be like, oh, it was whatever. It's all good.
You could actually make the argument that, and I actually heard this online, it did make a little bit of sense, that they're actually a worse team now with Cousins, because who did they lose?
Well,
I mean, you joked about him, Javal McGee. At the end of the day, we can make all this Shaq and a fool or whatever. He was a rim protector, so he actually
helped
gave
them in the finals for sure.
He was a defensive
piece.
presence. Cousins, he's not known for defense, and he's obviously a lot shorter. So from that particular standpoint, they've never really needed a big guy to go into the paint and to score and this and that. That was never a part of their offense. So you could actually make the argument that they're now a worse team because of that lost presence. So calm down, guys.
They're known as a run and gun offense, right? With the threes, with Steph and Clay and Draymond and Durant. Boogie running up and down the court after a torn Achilles. You don't know what to expect. I still think they're the favorites to win the championship. In 4 over Boston.
Even with Boogie.
But you never know what can happen. So
I
everyone
think
just needs to
just quickly. I think Boston could give them a run.
Oh, they could.
I would love to see that.
I don't think it would be a
matchup.
sweep.
I think right now the only
Two best teams in the
that can
league.
push the Warriors with or without Boogie is the Celtics, and
Yep.
they can realistically win that series because you just look at from a pure talent perspective.
I agree.
But
We'll
just
see how they all gel together.
We'll see.
Obviously,
It
with
may
Hayward
change
back.
to 6.
we'll have our finals prediction.
But as of
closer to
right
that.
now, I mean, Golden State, they they're
Just remember,
the best.
guys, the league didn't allow Chris Paul to play with Kobe Bryant.
Certainly.
True. I remember that.
But that was a trade that did not happen, quote unquote.
Yeah, that wasn't a signing. That was a
trade.
But
that did not happen.
They still disallowed it. Which,
David Stern, right?
Yeah,
David
David Stern, which
Stern disallowed it.
I don't know. Yeah.
But the rumor was, and I don't know what the truth is, but apparently that trade did not happen. So I don't know. Again,
yeah,
it
there's
could
a
be
lot
speculation.
of
and,
speculations out
you
there.
know,
As I said,
whatever,
guys,
but-
narratives, storylines, this kind of drama, especially in social media, just feeds the conversation. People love it. If you're a real basketball fan, you're going to tune in because you want to see how this story unfolds. You want to see how this is going to end.
Luca, are you going to watch the NBA next season?
Absolutely.
Are you gonna talk some ball?
Absolutely.
I think you will.
Absolutely.
The NBA
guys-
is a great league, man. Everyone should watch it. Still, it's gonna be hyped this year. So.
Let's enjoy the ride and see what happens, guys. Thanks for joining us. Special thank you to you, Luca, from the Waterboy Report. We'll check you out, or we'll ask our viewers to check you out at thewaterboyreport.com. You can access all of his video podcasts and his social media networks right through his website. Once again, thewaterboyreport.com. Thanks, everybody, for joining in, tuning in. Lots of NBA, even free agency, lots more to come. We'll be back discussing NBA ball, Toronto Talk Sports, and more.
Well, that wraps it up for another episode of Toronto Talk Sports and more. I want to thank our in-studio guests, Luca Rosano of the Waterboy Report, and the newest member to the TTS team, Kashif Arshad. Also, a special thank you to our call-in guest, 2018 NHL draft pick from the Los Angeles Kings, Akil Thomas, and Mr. Nii Bruce-Wallace, NWB. It was a pleasure having all of you on. Make sure you tune in to our next show, episode number 15, which will be available on Tuesday, July the 10th, 2018. As a reminder, you can listen to our podcast on our website, torontotalksports.com, and make sure to subscribe to our podcast on Google Play Music and or iTunes by searching Toronto Talk Sports. Toronto Talk Sports and more. For the love of the six, let's connect.
Thank you for tuning in to Toronto Talk Sports and more. Please subscribe to our podcast via Apple iTunes or Google Play Store. And stay tuned for new episodes, prizes, and surprises at torontotalksports.com.